Hello, I'm Neil Sheth. I'm a board of director of the British Chamber of Commerce Dubai. And in this episode, I'm speaking to William Wright, CEO and founder of Closed Door Security. William is a cybersecurity expert with over 15 years of experience in the industry. I know you're going to love this podcast, so share it with someone that might find it helpful. And don't forget to subscribe to the Don't Do That, Do This podcast.
This podcast wouldn't have been possible without the following teams. Studio Red for their quality podcast studio and video production. And Sherbet Lemon for branding, social media design, and editing.
William, great to have you here.
Morning, Neil.
I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
So let's start here with your story, your background. You're known as a hacker.
Yeah.
Some people use the word ethical hacker. Some people use the word good hacker. But actually, we had this conversation earlier, which is
Depends on how much you're paying.
yeah, you just want to be known as a hacker.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Yeah. So, my career is quite extensive as doing this kind of stuff, and the terminology behind it is quite difficult to understand. So making it as simple as possible for people to understand what we do rather than worrying about ethical or good or bad. It's just to call it a hacker. Therefore, everybody knows what that is. And it's a great conversation starter. But my career started almost 20 years ago in a computer shop, just working on IT stuff. I then sort of developed into more MSP support roles for IT server back in the day when that was a really difficult thing to do. Now it's a lot easier. And then I moved into working with the UK MOD and the Navy on the aircraft carriers, and then into the submarines with a company called Kinetic, and then working for NATO as well, and just slowly sort of developed my skill set over the years, and then went into the private sector and then sort of focused a lot on enhancing my ability to do this stuff repetitively. Because when you think about hacker, you maybe think of this huge, like really cool technical stuff. The reality is a set list of here's what you need to do in order to meet a minimum so that it's repeatable and auditable. So I focused on getting really good at that. And then unfortunately I got made redundant a number of years back. And I was in the house in Stornoway, which is in the middle of nowhere, and decided, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a business because that's a great idea to do. And, 5 years later, now we're here.
Oh, wow. So I thought you were going to say, I'm going to start hacking. I need to make money. I need to.
Yeah.
So how did you actually get into being a hacker?
So I just really enjoyed breaking stuff. So right the way through my childhood, I used to tear things apart just to find out how they work.
Yeah.
My first car, I literally took it back to the chassis and rebuilt the entire thing just because I was curious how it worked.
Okay.
And that just sort of continued throughout my career. As I got more technical, I started to delve deeper into how things work. And as you do that, you realize how you can break things. And I like breaking things. I liked breaking things more than I liked fixing things. And that's kind of where the shift came, because I'd spent my entire career fixing things basically fighting against the hackers and combating that back in the early days. And then realized actually it's much more fun to break them. And that skill set started developing over years. And that took me probably 6 or 7 years to go from, an IT engineer right the way through to being what we call these days as a hacker. And that was slowly getting exposure to the industry, because back then there was no training. There was no courses. It was very disjointed. That's back when things like Hacker News existed, and the old school
And
like
forums.
text files,
forums
and all the old IR chats and stuff.
Yeah.
And it took many, many years to get to the stage where I could do it properly as part of a career. But that entire development happened under the watchful eye of a couple of mentors of mine back then. And I got to the stage where essentially I was carrying these things out as part of my role day to day, and then just kept getting better and better.
What's one of the most interesting hacks you've seen?
So one of the things we do is what's called red teaming, and red teaming is basically no limits. You can do whatever you want.
Red teaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want to compromise a company, and we do that for some financial institutes in the UK. And there's a really interesting one that took 15 minutes to compromise a bank that had 6 billion under the control.
Oh my God.
We were sat outside. One of our team walked in, stayed in the car. He planted a device within the network, and from the car, connected to the device and compromised all their infrastructure. We were done before 9 a.m.
Oh wow.
That's the level that this can go to, and I find that really interesting, because when you step back and think of hacking and cybersecurity, you think it's this super complicated, super technical. We literally just walked in and put something on the network.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
The CISO phoned us at 10 a.m. He's like, "I've not seen you. Come on, you mustn't be doing good." We're like, "We're in the pub. We're done."
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, that's really common as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're obviously here in Dubai, in Radisson Red, and having this great conversation. What drew you to come out to the GCC?
So, contrary to popular opinion, it wasn't the glitz and the glamour and the advertising. We actually had an opportunity. So the business is accredited by a number of different organizations to do what we do. And one of those organizations had arranged an accreditation with the Dubai government, where it was this cross acceptance of their standards, and the Dubai government would accept it. And that's called Dubai Cyber Force. So we were one of the first companies to receive that accreditation. And we saw that as kind of this is an opportunity to move into a market where we could potentially be a leader in the market, because these services, whilst they exist, are being done very badly for the most part back then. So we decided we'll give it a go. We went to GITEX, exhibited at GITEX. It was an absolute flop. Wasted a lot of money there. Kind of stepped back a bit and then reassessed and thought, you know what, let's give this a go. Let's actually put some effort into this, do some marketing, do some proper sales work, do some events, do private events and stuff. And yeah, that was 3 years ago now. And now we're arguably a very well-established company within the whole GCC, not just the UAE.
Wow, that's really impressive. Let's just drill into that for a second, actually, because there's a lot of businesses that we meet as part of the British Chamber of Commerce Dubai. And we meet a lot of people that are coming out here. They're testing the waters.
Yeah.
Or now there's a lot more events in the UK that the Chamber is holding with businesses that are looking to move out here. So you mentioned a flop. And is it because GITEX is one of the largest events in the region, if not the largest?
I think it is.
They've got a really big CISO lounge as well. Good food, good coffee. It's easy to have too much coffee there, right? And so it's, there's a lot of successful businesses showcasing what they do.
Yeah.
What went wrong there? Was it the preparation? Was it what went wrong? So in that situation where it's your first move to Dubai and you're like, okay, let's go big here. You're clearly trying to go big here. What could you have done better?
I genuinely think that was the problem. We tried to go too big too fast. So we had a stand. We weren't able to stand out at an exhibit that size. You are just literally in the mix of everybody else.
Right.
So you're getting a bit of brand recognition, but there wasn't any follow-up after either.
Right.
So we didn't do any marketing beforehand. We just thought, let's give this a go and see what happens. So we jumped into the event without any pre-work. Most of the people that were coming around to visit us at that event specifically were looking for merch. Like, they weren't interested in what we were doing. And then the follow-up after, because we weren't already in the region, me and the team, we all left. So the follow-up was then on the phone or over email. And as you know, as we all know, once you're in the Middle East, it's very much face-to-face. And trying to follow up over email and phone just doesn't work. So we built up a little bit of momentum, invested quite a bit. You know how much these events cost. Invested quite a bit of money, and didn't follow through in the end.
Yeah, even though you've met them in person at the event, you're thinking at that point, oh wow, it's going to be an online call. We're going to get on a call. We're just going to keep the conversation going, right? Yeah. But actually, it's that second coffee, third coffee, sometimes 5.
Yeah.
Right. And for them to really get to know you.
Yeah. The entire economy is transient, for want of a better phrase. So everybody's used to people coming in once, saying they can do stuff and disappearing. So you have to almost combat that And there's certainly a stigma around Brits in specific, where they are very much come in, take some money and disappear. So combating that is actually quite a big problem for us, and having to go and be in person. Yes, it takes longer. Yes, it takes more time, but you actually end up building better relationships. And from that, you can then pivot those relationships into further relationships, because they make recommendations once you deliver good work.
Yeah, and that's what you need, isn't it? The recommendations. So now you've got your feet on the ground.
Yep.
What's worked for you?
So honestly, that it's one, the credibility of what we do, all the events. I do a lot of mentoring, teaching, speaking. I do a lot of critical talks as well about things within the industry, specific to the industry. Like we did a talk at the British Embassy a while ago about why the penetration testing done here is not good enough. And then I followed that with another talk at Black Hat, again, about the exact same topic, and really almost leveraging that credibility that I'd built in the UK over here, because whilst they are critical of the transientness of Brits, they do also respect the professional and the technical abilities that Brits tend to have. So leveraging those was probably the biggest thing, combined with actually being here and being able to go and meet.
Yeah, I feel like the region's very open to new ideas, new thinking, new people, new energy, right? You get people moving over, and then there's this burst of energy, thought leadership events and speaking.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go back to cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Everyone's aware of the big brands that have gone under the hackers' eyes. Yeah.
There's a few of them.
In 2025, can you talk about that, and why is that happening? And more importantly, what can small and large businesses do to combat it?
So if we look at the root cause of these things, it's almost always complacency. So they think because they're buying some form of technology or some form of service, they're either not completing the due diligence during the procurement to make sure that the service is doing what it's doing, or they're not checking that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do after they've done the installation and configuration. And that breeds complacency. Now, you look at these brands, they've all got their certifications, they've all going through, they're maintaining that stuff. But what they seem to be missing is the keeping things going. It's almost like it's a one, let's buy, invest in this. Okay, we don't need to worry about it. Outsourcing is potentially a part of it as well. So when you outsource these services to the lowest bidder, you end up getting pretty poor quality. And although you do have somebody to point the finger at, it's not going to save your business. And as we saw, the costs of that, never mind just to the businesses, but to the entire economy, was significant. And it's the ripple effects are going to happen for years, if not decades, potentially. But if we look at like the entire cycle of procuring cybersecurity services, not just on the hacker side, but the defender side as well, it's so many people selling snake oil. Now, it's really difficult for somebody who's not involved in the industry to understand why it's snake oil. So one of the potential pieces of advice is, if it's cheap, it's probably cheap for a reason. Like, these services are...
It's too good to be true.
Exactly. Right? I'm not going to put a price on it, but certainly if you look at security monitoring, if you're not paying a good, $10,000 or 50,000 dirhams a year, you're probably not buying something that's worth its weight. It's not going to protect you.
Can you teach me on shortcuts that are taking place that someone like me wouldn't know because I'm not in the space?
Yeah. So if we talk about really simple things to implement, MFA is the biggest one. So multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
Switch that on for everybody. There's a thing called the YubiKey, which uses a specific type of USB device that you can plug into your computer, press the button. That's, at this point in time, almost unphishable. And phishing is probably the biggest threat that most companies face just now. That's the initial access point. So that in itself, YubiKey is maybe $20, $30.
So just to explain that, so as a small business owner, explain how I would use that.
So the YubiKey, you set it up against your 365, your Google, whatever your authentication is for your emails, and you plug it into your device, and it actually asks you to press it. So you must press it in order for it to log in. What that means is that if you do get a phishing attack, it can't automatically happen because you have to press the key. Now, that's similar to MFA in a sense, because you have to put the code in. The difference being with the YubiKeys is they actually check that where you are, what you're doing, and everything's right within the browser
Right.
to make sure that it's
And
authenticating to the right
MFA
thing.
is multi-factor
Multi-factor
authentication. So
authentication, yeah.
when we get a WhatsApp code or a SMS code, that's multi-factor. I guess people are more comfortable with that because the YubiKey,
Yeah.
that has a risk of me losing it.
Exactly. It
Right.
does. Yeah, absolutely.
And what happens when you lose it?
Yeah, you're in a bad place.
Okay. Okay.
There's certainly some.
They call you up?
No. Thankfully, we break them. We don't buy them.
Okay.
If you lose a YubiKey, it can be quite disruptive, especially if, as the business owner, you have the admin on your account, which unfortunately is quite common. But that would be the second recommendation: is make sure that nobody has administrative access that shouldn't have it.
Okay. And then there's something else you said about when companies go to hire a cybersecurity company, and often people will look at budgets and go, yeah, that solves the problem, right? But then actually a year or whatever time frame down later, they realize there's issues.
Yep.
What are they missing when they and I'm trying to find the part I don't know, which is what are you doing that someone on a lower budget is not going to be able to do, because it just requires resource, it requires time to really accomplish that cybersecurity green check mark.
Yeah. So if we look at from our side, so the hacking side, the verification side, we spend a significant amount of money and time going through accreditations, both on a personal level and on a business level. So anybody who goes on our website, you'll see it is littered with all these accreditations and badges and stuff. Yeah. And every single one of them has a significant cost attached to them. And every single one of them has a significant technical requirement behind them. So we're audited 4 times per year by different bodies to make sure that the technical output that we do is what's required and does meet a minimum standard. Because of that, it means our costs are significantly higher. So when you look at the cheaper companies that do this, they almost never have these accreditations. And if they do, the output of their work is terrible. What's interesting is a lot of these accreditation bodies will actually have a complaints process. And when we take over from incumbent suppliers, if we find out that they have the accreditation and the output of the work is, we'll actually put them through the complaints process, because it looks bad on us. If they're doing that and we've got the same accreditation, it looks terrible. So we'll actually submit them to the complaints process so that they can be audited properly and potentially have their accreditation stripped from them. So there's the signposting of these accreditations, like in Dubai, it's Dubai Cyberforce. Globally, it's probably like Crest Pen Test is one of them. In the UK, it's the NCSC. In the US, it's the DoD. There's loads of different ones, but looking at the accreditation status, it's probably the main one, and then references. So and I don't just mean references of, that guy I know said they're all right. I mean, look at their industry experience. So we have a ream of references available in all different verticals or technology companies that would match whatever our client's doing. And they can go off and independently speak to those people, because the people who we've worked with are so happy with what we've done, they're happy to tell other people about it. Whereas if a company says, oh, we don't really want to, or they're trying to keep it on the down low, that's probably a bit of a red flag as well. Now, on the defending side, if they're just trying to apply a technology stack to whatever it is you're doing, if they're just trying to, you need this tech, you need exactly this, and it's going to be, 100 dirhams per user per month or something, it's probably not worth it at all. One comparison I like to make is to insurance. So you buy insurance because you want to be insured in the event something bad happens. Now, there's that argument of you need to balance the premium versus the risk. Totally understand that. But what's the point in insurance that doesn't protect you? There's a price for the insurance that does protect you in the event, and cybersecurity is the exact same.
And the impact of getting it wrong is so high.
Exactly. So if we look at cyber insurance in the UK is a great example. Most of them don't pay out anymore because they've got so many clauses in there that they don't even pay out.
Really?
Yeah. Like ours has technical requirements.
Does that exist here? Cyber insurance?
So it's not really that big here. So I have a few insurance brokers who are friends, and nobody really wants to buy it. They just don't see it as a significant risk, which is ironic when you think about the stats. In the UAE, there's the UAE Cyber Council says that they block 200,000 cyber attacks per day. Like, that's massive. The UAE is the second most attacked country in the Middle East.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I guess because it's an easy target on the private sector, because exactly that mentality exists of, it's not a problem, so I don't need to protect myself, or let's get the cheapest.
The quality of cybersecurity is so low compared to a mature market like the US or UK.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because actually yesterday I got a bunch of
The DARB.
alarming messages
I
from
think we all did.
DARB, Dubai, the Abu Dhabi toll.
Yeah.
You need to pay immediately this 4 dirhams, otherwise you're going to get a massive fine. And it wasn't a normal SMS. So you know the weather notification.
Yeah.
If a storm's coming, there's a really loud noise on your phone.
Yeah.
So it's that noise in my office, which is quite quiet. I was like, what is this? And what gave it away, to be honest, was the phone number.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the message looks legit. I mean, it got me to. I didn't click on it,
But you paid attention.
I paid attention, and I went to my laptop and I went into the Abu Dhabi DARB portal to go see what's happening.
To check if you had actually
To just
had
check
something
if
for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that, and I'm in the tech space.
Yeah.
So the fact that it got me to do that, imagine if you're not in the tech space and you're like, hey, you don't have time. And you're like, what is this?
Yep.
I can imagine people clicking on that link.
All the time. So what's interesting is I've been very close a few times over the years where I'm like, actually, I better check this first, because it's so
Just in
convincing.
case.
Yeah. And almost every time it says, there's something dodgy going on here. What's amazing is that kind of attack will have made those attackers a significant amount of money.
Really?
Yeah. They will have made an absolute fortune of it.
So what are they doing here?
So
what would have happened if I clicked on the link?
So you would have been redirected to a payment page of some sort.
Okay.
That would have been dressed up to look like the DARB page.
Right.
The only indicator would have been the URL would be slightly different from what it should be. Yeah.
It was
And I
very
remember seeing it.
close.
Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah.
They use what's called typo squatting domains. So it's lookalike domains. So if you think Microsoft, instead of Microsoft, they use M1 Microsoft.
Yeah.
And it can be really close. Microsoft are on top of it, though. They shut them down really quickly. Anyway, the payment page would then take card details, crypto, a bunch of different stuff, and they'll have a payment provider in the back end that they've set up an illegitimate account with. But what their target is to get as many people in before the payment provider shuts it down. So take as many payments through as they can, and then they'll distribute that out to different sources, bank accounts, crypto wallets,
as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So they'll just distribute as wide as they can, and then they'll eventually bring it back to places where they can remove it from wherever it's stored. And the intent of that is to try and make it untraceable. There's always ways, but it's the level of effort the investigators are willing to go to. And when you're talking about 40 dirhams or something, on an individual level, it's like, okay, it's 40 dirhams, that's my bad. They can also store the card details sometimes. So you can end up a victim of identity fraud, where they'll go out and, so I have a friend who unfortunately fell for one about 2 years ago, and she got 75,000 dirhams taken out of her account before she knew what had happened. So that entire savings wiped out in seconds. And the bank said, well, you gave them it, so what do you want to do?
Yeah, this reminds me, I didn't tell you about this actually. A couple of months ago over the summer, I was in the UK.
Yeah.
Took the kids out to the museum, the Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
And I had my phone, which is connected to UAE App Store. So I'm trying to pay for parking and it's not working. And because it doesn't recognize the parking apps in the UK, and I didn't know that at the time. So I'm trying to download all these apps and they're just not working.
Yep.
And then my wife goes, oh, there's a QR code on the parking sign. I said, okay, great. Why didn't I notice that before? Scanned it, downloaded the app, and tried to pay for parking. Didn't work. And then somehow got my sister-in-law to go pay for parking. We're using her phone. So that solved the problem. Now I'm on a call a few days later, having a meeting, client meeting, and I see my phone pinging. 1,000 dirhams, 800 dirhams, 1,200 dirhams, 1,500 dirhams, pinging one after the other. And I'm on a call. And then I took a little break, and my first thought is, why is my wife using my
straight on the
why is she using our UAE credit card? Because we're just going to get slammed with the exchange, right?
Yeah.
So I messaged her. I was like, can you not use this card? Now, 10 transactions later, give or take, I realized what was going on,
Yeah.
went straight into the bank, into the app, closed the card.
Yeah.
But at that point, we're 10,500 dirhams
Yeah, yeah.
down, right? I still don't have the money back.
No, it's
Right?
really difficult to recover.
And I didn't actually know it was that sign until I saw an Instagram viral video
Yeah.
about how they're using QR codes on the sign, which is pretty smart, to be
Yeah.
fair.
It's an intelligent way of doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just how do you get past that? There's just so many ways to get hacked.
Yeah.
How does, to make this relevant to a small business,
Yeah.
how does a small business go from here where maybe they don't have the budget for for your services?
Yeah.
Maybe they do. At least go to a talk, but what else can they do that they can apply right now? You mentioned MFA,
Yeah.
multi-factor, you mentioned the key.
Yep.
What else can they do?
Vigilant. Just be vigilant. So don't automatically trust what you're seeing in front of you is real. Always assume that it's not real. That some of the most interesting conversations I've had where I've maybe done some outreach or went to meet somebody is they've went, I don't believe you. Prove it. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'd love to prove it. And then go through the process. The QR code's a fantastic one. So that's interestingly, that attack is bred out of a hacker conference in the in the US, where they used to do it to each other just as fun. So they would go around the stands and like put QR codes so that people would scan it, and it just for a bit of fun because that's what they do. And that obviously attack then developed into something that's been legitimately used, and that's really prevalent in the UK. Like even in Inverness. So obviously I'm from the north of Scotland. In Inverness, I found one. There's a QR code stuck over the top of one. And Inverness is a tiny little city.
Yeah. Did you do the good deed? Did you take it off?
I removed it. But obviously I
Do you know what? I
took a scan of it and played with it a bit.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Did you try and hack the hacker?
No. That's illegal. I wouldn't do that.
Okay. So, what's interesting about this, as I'm reflecting on this, is there was urgency at that moment. So what you mentioned as being vigilant,
Yep.
I think that's really important. But then in my situation, I had 2 kids in the car. They
Yeah,
want to go into
screaming.
natural history.
Yeah.
They're like, why are you taking half an hour just to park, pay for your parking? So there's the urgency moment.
Yep.
So it's difficult, right? When you're like, hey, any way I can park right now, I just need to find a solution.
Yep. And that's, so as I mentioned, the red teaming that we do, that's one of the main tactics we use when it involves social engineering is either urgency or pressure. So you press on people urgent. So a good example is calling to a help desk to reset a password. You play a screaming baby in the background, you seem panicked, you start speaking to them like, oh, I just need to get this really fast. Or, if we're breaking into an office here, it's like, oh, I really need to urgently get to the CEO to do this, blah, blah, blah. You create that urgency. The problem is psychologically, most people are developed culturally to accept that urgency and help. Much more helpful. I would just suggest being helpful but untrusting. If we use the QR code as an example, again, I've had problems with those apps in the UK and Edinburgh all the time. They're a nightmare to get going. So I always carry some money, some coins just to pay for it, just in case. But that's through experience of knowing it. And if you pull up, like you said, in the car with 2 kids who are screaming like, Dad, let's go, hurry up, what's going on? You can see why that would be like, well, why is this not working? Damn it, this is a real issue. But it's not falling pressure to that, because that's exactly what they want. They want somebody in that situation. It's like, I just want to pay, hurry up, what's going on?
And that's an app that's been approved within the App Store. So they've got past that, and now I'm the second hit.
Yeah.
Right?
And then that's the interesting thing as well, is there's a level of complacency within, be it Google or Apple, where these apps are approved because technically the app isn't doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
It's taking a payment.
True.
And it says that it's
True.
taking a payment. The problem is what's happening on the back end. Is
That's
they go,
right.
That's mine now.
The app makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's where the payment's going.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So let's just switch to AI.
Okay.
At some point, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
How is this impacting cybersecurity? Is it increasing risk?
So what I would say is it's not what you would read in the news. So we're still at a level of infancy in AI, but that doesn't mean it's not implementing new risks. What we're seeing is people who would normally not have the skills to be able to do things, now having the skills to be able to do some basic things. And that's really the main risk. You've got the ability for people who have a vendetta but no technical skills to now have access to the tools and technologies to be able to do these attacks. Like if we talk about insider threats, you end up having to dismiss somebody from the company under bad issues or whatever the case may be. They can go to ChatGPT, Anthropic, whatever, and overnight learn how to do this and build stuff that'll do it for you. And they can just instantly attack the business and take it down. Another threat is the speed. So if we look at, there's been some documented automated attacks. Anthropic shut one down recently where their infrastructure was being used for it. And basically, because of the speed and decision making that the AI can do, it might not be as good as a human at this point, but it can do it so fast, it doesn't matter if it's as good as a human because it can run through your network in seconds rather than days as a human. And that's a huge difference. Now, thankfully, if we look at the cybersecurity side, companies that are defending companies against this, a lot of them are starting to get used to that and start working with it and see what are called indicators of compromise and shut them down quickly. But there's still a vast majority of companies across the world that aren't protected.
Okay. Are there any procurement trends you're seeing when it comes to cybersecurity?
I would say people going for the cheapest possible, as I mentioned earlier. That's the biggest issue, and I would say it's that complacency that comes out of that because you think, oh, I'm protected. The reality is you're not protected. One of the things that we do with hacking and penetration testing is validate that the money you've spent on defending yourself has actually been spent well. So if you think about it like an audit to say that, okay, we've implemented this hundreds of thousands of pounds of systems and technologies. Now we need to spend 5, 6, 10,000 pounds checking it actually works. So you just include that in your budget. And that's a really interesting way to go because our job as what we do is to hold the feet to the fire of these technology companies and service providers saying that they're doing stuff and prove that they're actually doing it. If you like, for one of the better purposes, we are the burglar trying to break into the house to make sure your CCTV and locks are working. And that's
it's like a secret cyber hack.
Yeah, exactly. Secret shopper almost. If you like. And that's not many people are doing that. So they're investing all this money, or even in cheap services. You're still in the 100,000 dirhams a year minimum for the cheap stuff. They're investing this money and they're not validating that it actually works. And then when we look at the procurement, if there's no due diligence being done on the company that they're buying from, there's no audit being done after they've finished the commissioning of whatever they're doing, then you could essentially literally be burning the money in the street. You'd probably be better off.
Yeah. Interesting. So in line with our Don't Do That, Do This podcast with our fancy background, what's a don't do that, do this instead for an IT business coming out to the region? You shared some really great advice in the beginning. But what's one more thing for someone that wants to come out to the region?
So for somebody that's wanting to come out, I would say don't come running out expecting big things immediately and throwing a whole load of money into marketing and just blindly throwing things around. I would say you want to come over, spend a bit of time and go to some smaller private events with maybe perhaps business events, maybe not, and spend some time actually building relationships rather than, because in the UK, let's be honest, the market's pretty accessible. If you're UK based, you can cold call, you can do cold emails, you're probably going to get some success. Over here, it's just not going to work. They are, and I know I'm inundated with cold calls and cold emails all day, every day. So don't be that person would be my advice.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Go meet people.
Yeah, exactly. Go meet them in person, take them out for a coffee and speak to them like they're humans. Don't try and sell to them. They don't like that. I don't like that either. Just speak to them, find out what their needs are, do a professional sales consultation rather than just trying to throw products and services down the throat.
Yep, love that. So William, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
I really enjoyed this conversation. This was a real making cybersecurity fun again type conversation. So yeah, thanks for all of those nuggets of advice. Where can people find you?
So on LinkedIn, you'll find me, William Wright, or on the website www.cdsec.co.uk or .ae, depending on where you are.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And you know.